I'm with the James Webb Space Telescope.
Hello and welcome, I'm Ellie Richardson and you're watching The World Report on NewsX World. Let's take a look at some of the top headlines of this hour. President Donald Trump uses State of the Union stage to warn Iran over nuclear and security threats. He highlighted Iran's missile and nuclear activities as grave risks and hinted at possible stronger measures, even as he said diplomacy remains preferable. The top Democratic senator called US President Donald Trump's record-length State of Union speech delusional and said it failed to address the struggles of ordinary Americans. Bill Gates took responsibility for his actions over ties to late financier and sex offender Jeffrey Epstein in a town hall meeting with employees of the Gates Foundation. Documents released by the US Department of Justice has indicated that Gates and Epstein met repeatedly after Epstein's prison term. The UK's government is committing to releasing documents on ex-Prince Andrew Mountbatten-Windsor past role as a trade envoy after the Jeffrey Epstein scandal widened with the arrest of the veteran UK politician. British police say searches at Andrew Mountbatten-Windsor's former home in southeast England have concluded after the former prince was arrested last week on suspicion of misconduct in public office due to his ties with late US sex offender Jeffrey Epstein. China's Premier Li Qiang has urged Germany to help safeguard global free trade. He said he was facing headwinds. He said China and Germany, as two major economies, should jointly safeguard multilateralism and free trade. Li told German Chancellor Friedrich Merz as the two met in Beijing. India's Prime Minister Narendra Modi arrives in Israel for a two-day visit that both countries have cast as a chance to deepen relations, as regional concerns mount over the risk of military conflict between the United States and Iran. The UN General Assembly voiced support for Ukraine on the 4th anniversary of Russia's invasion. It passed by a tally of 107 countries, with 12 against and 51 abstentions, which included the United States. And for your top story this hour, a spokesperson for the Gates Foundation has stated that Bill Gates took responsibility for his actions over ties to late financier and sex offender Jeffrey Epstein in a town hall meeting with employees. During the meeting, Gates acknowledged that meeting with Epstein and involving foundation executives in those discussions was a significant mistake. He emphasized that his interactions with Epstein were purely related to philanthropy, admitting it was a lapse in judgment. This comes after new documents from the US Department of Justice reveal Gates and Epstein met repeatedly after Epstein's prison term to discuss expanding Gates' initiatives. Meanwhile, Gates also acknowledged two affairs Epstein discovered, but stressed this did not involve Epstein's victims. The Gates Foundation confirmed that Gates took full responsibility, but reiterated no financial payments were made to Epstein and he was never employed by the foundation. We are now being joined by Shruti Dasgupta, who's an international affairs analyst, joining us from New Delhi. Thank you so much, Shruti, for joining us here today on NewsX World. How might Gates' admission and the release of these Department of Justice files about his meetings with Epstein affect public trust in the Gates Foundation and its role in international development?
Well, that's the hot water that Bill Gates is trying to combat by his apology. He knows that the Gates Foundation bears his name and his wife's name. The wife, of course, Melinda, has come out and said that the Gates Foundation has never been involved, has never paid Epstein, has never contracted with Epstein in any way or format. Bill Gates does. The emails show that Bill Gates was allowing meetings which to have a new fund for global health under the directives of Epstein. Gates also has, I think, has been proven to have paid up for a few health-related donations under the influence of Epstein. So herein comes the question that if Gates was under the influence of Epstein, how deep was the indirect influence of Epstein on the Gates Foundation, because it bears Bill Gates' name and his money. So here is what the foundation is trying to do. It's trying to make it stand clear that the foundation itself has never really dealt with Epstein, has not passed any format, even though there was an email stating that there was a proposition of a fund. That fund was never actually took off, and they have shown solidarity with the victims, and they've tried to keep their noses clean and out of this entire mess that Bill Gates has landed them into. When Bill Gates says that he's had a lapse of judgment, it's not just a lapse of judgment, it's a severe lapse of ethics and morals also. Because a sex offender, you were meeting with him for health issues, and then you had those emails where which later led to your divorce with your wife, though not those emails, but the acts mentioned in the email where you tried to subtly feed your wife antibiotics because you had contracted sexually transmitted diseases via your affairs, although not bought or influenced by Epstein's influence. It shows that Bill Gates was tantalized by whatever Epstein was having to do in his social scenes, if not the political and economic scenes, and he felt comfortable enough to share such personal details and have him negotiate things for him, have him influence things for him. And that puts a shadow on the Gates Foundation, though they have, as of now, on paper and in all legality, not been found of any guilt or by association also. The mere fact that Bill Gates is dirty, at least in terms of Epstein's files, not in terms of seeing something wrong being done and saying yes, it's fine, or even himself doing something wrong, but mere association with Epstein now is toxic. And that toxicity is leaking into the reputation of the foundation. He's apologizing, but it's already spilt milk. You cannot put it back in the jar.
And what does Bill Gates' public acknowledgement of his mistakes in associating with Jeffrey Epstein and his apology to foundation staff really reveal about accountability and leadership in global philanthropy? And also, is he now doing this to try and clear his name? Because we know that the UK, that the King's brother is even being held accountable. Will this also happen in the US?
King's brother being accountable, he's already been, that is a different conversation. He was stripped of his rights for a title, and they're probably going to not keep him in the line of succession at all after all of this. And he was arrested and then released within 24 hours. So that particular justice system has its own way of working. US itself, this was, I think, the Gates Foundation's the pressure on Gates Foundation pushed Bill Gates to come out and make this admission. He also in the AI summit in Delhi did not address it, which was good because it would have tainted the AI summit as well by association. So right now, Bill Gates is toxic. His association with Epstein is clear after conviction. His own moral and ethical conduct is under question. And he's trying not to save face for himself, but to safeguard his legacy in the name of Gates Foundation. Of course, whether the foundation as of now is not guilty, but guilty by association only with Gates. And Gates is as morally corrupt as it comes right now. So what they're trying to do is damage control in terms of health is questionable itself. Why would you choose to associate with somebody who is already convicted of sex trafficking and associations with minors? So that itself shows that right now, because of public pressure, he is apologizing. He cannot be washed clean, but at least he hopes his stain doesn't bleed into the foundation and his legacy. But the fact that he allowed his presence to accommodate Epstein in associations and meetings with the Gates Foundation is bad enough for the foundation. And I do not know the future. I hope that the foundation continues to do its good work, but I do not know how they will be able to wash this particular stain off.
Thank you, Shruti, but please don't go too far, as I'll be back with you very shortly. Democratic lawmakers wore badges reading "Release the Files" during US President Donald Trump's address, signalling support for survivors of Jeffrey Epstein. The protest was aimed at pressuring the administration to make public all after years of delays and sealed records. The White House did not immediately comment on the demonstration or on any potential release of additional files. We are now being rejoined by Shruti. Shruti, thank you for rejoining us here. Does the demand to release the Epstein-related files, as we know, some people are saying all the files have been released, people are saying not all the files have been released. Does this reflect broader concerns about transparency and accountability in holding in powerful individuals into to take accountability?
You're right there, Ellie. There are redactions, heavy redactions. The redactions were permitted to protect victims, to prevent use of those files in the dark web as pornographic content. It was meant to protect people that were violated by Epstein and his associates. And now a lot of the redactions protect the rich and powerful. We know what is being said, but who is it being written by, that is blocked out. The name of the victim sometimes was released, but the person who wrote it, the powerful man who probably sent that email, his email and name is preserved. So they are protecting those who do not need protection. They have not been truthful completely in their release of the files. The fact that they got released is a big deal. It has taken a lot of public push to actually get these files released in whatever format they are present in right now. But there is definitely political shielding that is happening in the name of Epstein files. I believe that the Oversight Committee has also been looking into whether a few pages, I think about 50 odd pages of FBI interviews related to Donald Trump and any allegations related to Epstein have been withheld. So there are questions like that being raised, which show that maybe with just redactions and withholding pages that are sensitive should not be encouraged in any way or format. A full transparency model is definitely required, but will that transparency create more victims, more confusion, or deliver justice is something that we all need to understand. That the DOJ has said that they will not issue any more cases on the basis of Epstein files. That means even if these files are released, the only justice they can get is a social form of justice rather than the legal form of justice. They are not looking to pursue more people in this incident. So there is no legal recourse. Until unless there's already a legal case under review, the DOJ will not be taking any kind of suo motu cognizance or something like this. This is going to only be a social format, maybe a public acknowledgement of their crimes, but not a legal basis as of now.
Thank you so much, Shruti, for joining us here today on NewsX World. Thank you. Top Democratic Senator Chuck Schumer has criticised US President Donald Trump's record-length State of the Union speech, calling it delusional. Schumer stated that the speech failed to address the struggles faced by ordinary Americans. He said that Americans have never seen a State of the Union so disconnected from reality. Schumer further emphasized that Trump's portrayal of America did not align with the experiences of most working Americans. We are now being joined by Ambassador Suresh Goel, who is a former Indian diplomat joining us from New Delhi. Thank you so much for joining us here today on NewsX World. What does Senator Chuck Schumer's characterization of President Trump's speech as delusional reveal about the deep divide in Washington over the state of the nation and national priorities?
I think what you said really reflects the true picture of the debate in Washington at this stage in time. Is actually deep divide between the Democrats and the Republicans. And also, if we have to look at the data coming from public opinion, coming from Washington, the popularity rate of President Trump seems to be going down consistently. So that would explain really the kind of views which are coming from Democratic side. All I would say is that the differences between Democrats and Republicans, particularly in the debate on the State of the Union address, are very common. I mean, after all, these are political affairs, really speaking. But this year, particularly, the divide is very, very vociferous and rather huge. The way it is being done, I had never really heard of alternative rallies being organized to distract attention from the State of the Union address. So yes, there is a deep divide, and this divide may or may not reflect on impact on the way President Trump functions.
And to what extent is Schumer's critique a substantive political response versus a strategic move ahead of key midterm elections, especially as Trump touted economic and security achievements that opponents dispute?
Well, yes, I think the debate will have an impact on the midterm elections. But very often we find that by the time the elections take place, if you recall, actually, even the main presidential elections, there were a different kind of tenor of the debate at that time. And the elections did not actually reflect the kind of views and the debate that existed before the elections. And in this case also, yes, where I would tend to agree that this kind of a debate and on the strategic issues would have an impact on the midterm elections. But then ultimately the politics would take over, and the Republicans will also really weigh, they will look at the possibilities of if any change or any slide in the popularity of the election results of the Republicans, how it is going to impact on the future, the elections for the president. So therefore, I would say that I would not characterize the debate of the State of the Union as having a very decisive impact on the midterm elections. There will be some impact, but we will have to wait and see. Yes.
Thank you, but please don't go too far, as I'll be back with you very shortly. Democratic lawmakers and activists held a counter rally in Washington, D.C. on Tuesday during President Donald Trump's State of the Union address. The rally, which began an hour before Trump's speech, featured prominent senators and advocacy leaders who condemned Trump's policies. They accused the administration of spreading falsehoods and undermining democracy. Senators Chris Murphy and Chris Van Hollen pointed to what they called a state of denial in Trump's speech, highlighting rising inequality, attacks on civil liberties, and the deepening crisis in American democracy. The rally was a call to action for voters to hold the administration accountable as the president's approval ratings slip amid rising concerns over Iran and the economy. We're now being joined back by Ambassador Suresh. Thank you for joining us back here on NewsX World. What how effective are simultaneous rallies and boycotts rather than a traditional in-chamber protests in conveying democratic criticism of the administration policies and priorities?
I would certainly see them as more effective and having more impact. And these are the kind of rallies which are being planned and held with a view to the midterm elections and building a public opinion in favor of uh, change towards the democratic vote. So therefore, politically much more effective than just an in-chamber debate, which is really not likely to make much of a difference to the midterm vote, I would say.
Thank
Yes.
you, Ambassador
Thank you.
Suresh, but please don't go too far again as we'll be back very shortly. During his State of the Union address, US President Donald Trump claimed that Russia and China's defense systems failed during a recent operation in Venezuela. Trump asserted that advanced US military technology played a decisive role in neutralizing Russian and Chinese-made devices and defense system, allowing US forces to complete their mission with minimal resistance. He stated that these systems, including air defense radars and missile systems sourced from Russia and China, did not work during the operation. This comment highlights the ongoing competition between the US and Russia over military capabilities. Trump's remarks underline the effectiveness of US suppression tactics against foreign defense systems, raising concerns about the operational readiness of Russian and Chinese military exports. We are now being rejoined by Ambassador Suresh. Thank you for joining us again for our News X World. How credible are assessments that Venezuela's air defense system, including China and Russian-made services and devices, were ineffective due to poor maintenance or lack of integration or operational issues rather than inherent design flaws? And why is Trump saying this now?
There have been reports immediately after the US operation in Venezuela that the Russian and the Chinese equipment which President Maduro at that time had for the defense of Venezuela did not work. There were speculations at that time that it was basically because either the equipment was not properly maintained or there were some defects in the equipment, etc., etc. But those reports have not been proved till now. They have remained a matter of speculation. It is also interesting to note that there has been, to my knowledge at least, there has been no report from the Ministry of Defense or the Defense Department of the USA about what they thought the Venezuelan defenses were like, whether it was the poor quality of equipment or what. There has been no report at all so far. Until such a report comes, which is more authentic at the level of experts, things will purely remain in the realm of assessments, speculations, etc. And therefore, I would say really that what President Trump is now saying sounds to me more like really a speculative kind of a statement rather than anything authenticated by the true state of affairs. But yes, one has to be aware of what possibly could have been. There were reports that even the president, personnel close to President Maduro, they actually did not do what they were supposed to do. They were just reports, again speculative. So there will be speculations for a long time till authentic reports are in. Till now, they are not.
And in what ways could the apparent vulnerabilities exposed in Venezuela's defense network affect China and Russia's future arms exports and diplomatic relations with recipient countries?
From what I see in the reports, most of the countries who were buying equipment from China, I cannot say the same for Russia because Russia has been deeply engaged in the war in Ukraine, but Russia has been a steady and reliable supplier of defense equipment, including to India, and there has been no cause to find anything wrong with that supply so far. So I I have not seen anywhere at all that the other countries who are buying goods from or China and Russia supplying to them that they have gone back to on their orders or were finding it difficult. No, and therefore till authentic reports come in, I don't think other countries are going to be guided by the speculations.
Thank you, Ambassador Suresh, but please don't go too far as we will be back with you shortly. We have some breaking news for you now. Iran has strongly rejected US claims about its missile program, dismissing them as big lies. The Iranian Foreign Ministry responded to US President Donald Trump's statement from his State of the Union address, which alleged that Tehran was developing missiles capable of striking the United States. Ismail Bakay, the ministry's spokesman, called the claims a repetition of big lies, stating that the allegations regarding Iran's nuclear program and ballistic missiles. We're now being rejoined again by Ambassador Suresh. Thank you for joining us back here for this breaking news. From his speech, he knew the world was watching for this, and he knew he would get a rise, I think, out of Iran about what he said. What do you think is going to happen now? Because he's saying he wants diplomacy, but at this rate, I think Iran's become a bit annoyed by it all now.
Well, I'm sure Iran is a bit jittery really with the developments because I think Iran does want to give a opportunity to diplomatic negotiations. They are going to be meeting in Geneva again to discuss Iran's nuclear program. I do not know how far will Iran go in making concessions to the USA on the nuclear program. It will be difficult for them to roll back their enrichment program to the extent that the USA wants. On the other hand, the USA, President Trump, to be more precise, has mobilized so much in the Gulf there around Iran that I would find it difficult to believe that they would withdraw without showing the strength. So the situation is rather uncertain, volatile, and rather dangerous. And I suspect some show of force would take place, but I do hope that it does not break out into a major war.
Mm-hmm. Thank you so much, Ambassador Suresh, for joining us here today on NewsX World. Thank you so much. US President Donald Trump has set a new record for the longest ever State of the Union address. The speech was approximately 1 hour and 48 minutes, surpassing the previous record held by Bill Clinton, who spoke for 1 hour and 20 minutes in 2000. Trump also beat his own record, which he set last March, with a 1 hour 40-minute address. This makes his speech the longest before a joint session of Congress in over 60 years, as recorded by the American Presidency Project, which has been tracking speech durations since 1964. A Turkish Air Force F-16 fighter jet crashed near a major highway in western Turkey in the early hours of Wednesday, killing its pilot and prompting a large-scale emergency response, according to official statements. The incident has raised fresh questions about flight safety as authorities launched a full investigation into the cause of the crash. The aircraft took off shortly after midnight from the 9th Main Jet Base Command in Balıkesir province. According to the Turkish Ministry of Defense, radio and radar contact with the F-16 was lost soon after takeoff, prompting immediate search and rescue operations. Military and civilian teams, including security forces, firefighters and medical personnel, were dispatched to the suspected crash area. The wreckage was soon located near a section of the Istanbul-Izmir highway, a major transport route in the region. Local media reported that debris from the aircraft was scattered across a wide area, leading to temporary road closures as emergency crews secured the site. Authorities said no civilians were injured in the incident. The Defense Ministry confirmed that the pilot did not survive the crash, describing him as having been martyred, a term used in Turkey to honour service members killed in the line of duty. The pilot's identity was not immediately released, pending notification of family members. Officials said the cause of the crash remains unknown. An accident inquiry team has been appointed to examine the wreckage, review flight data and analyse communications and operational conditions. The Turkish Air Force said it will share findings once the investigation is complete, reiterating its commitment to flight safety and support for the fallen pilot's family. Tropical cyclone Horacio has been labelled the strongest storm of 2026, following its rapid intensification over the southwest Indian Ocean. The storm reached peak wind speeds of 150 knots, which is equivalent to a Category 5 cyclone, making it one of the most powerful weather systems of the year. Horacio formed east of Mauritius and near Rodriguez Island, but did not make a direct landfall, limiting its damage potential. However, it still generated dangerous seas and strong winds that threatened nearby islands, creating a tense situation for those in its path. Horacio's explosive intensification occurred within a very short time frame, rapidly strengthening before its winds reached 260 kilometers per hour. The storm's label as the strongest of the year is mainly due to its peak wind intensity, which occurred during a brief yet powerful strengthening phase. While other factors such as minimum central pressure and storm size also define the strength of cyclones, Horacio's maximum sustained winds made it most intense storm observed in 2026 so far. Despite its initial power, Horacio began to weaken quickly. By February the 24th, the storm winds had decreased significantly, with the Joint Typhoon Warning Centre predicting further weakening in the coming hours. The primary factors contributing to this rapid decline in intensity included the intrusion of dry air into the system and increasing vertical wind shear. These conditions disrupted the storm's structure, causing it to weaken more swiftly than expected. While Horacio did not cause catastrophic landfall, its extreme winds and the threat it posed to the nearby islands made it a significant weather event. Authorities in the region are closely monitoring the storm as it moves further away from land, continuing to weaken. The combination of Horacio's quick intensification and equally swift weakening has made it unique and notable storm in 2026 cyclone season. That's all we have time for. Keep watching NewsX World for more news updates from around the world.